Hey, what's going on? JD here, and welcome to the Daily JD. Thanks for tuning in, guys. As always, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Share this video. Make sure to punch that like button and let people know that you're here and want to join in the conversation. There was a bit of a jump, I think, at the beginning of the video. I'm not sure why that is, but who knows? It's been an interesting time, whole bunch of computer issues for myself as of the other day. I went to update my Wacom Cintiq. For those of you who know what a Cintiq is, it's basically a drawing tablet where I can sort of draw away digitally. So I needed to update the drivers. I had some difficulty doing that. Went to update it, finally got that done. Went to go out, came back, and lo and behold, for whatever reason, the Mac decided that it was going to operate or basically update the whole operating system, and that subsequently caused it to crash and fail the install. And it was just kind of a crappy time. So I'm not sure exactly why all that happened, but it did. Thankfully enough, we got things going, because ultimately, if I hadn't got it going, I wouldn't be live streaming today. So today is Tuesday. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you all had a fantastic long weekend. Hope you enjoyed some time with your families and got out there. Did some cool creative things. Me, myself, I am still sort of mid-office renovation. We are slowly, moving along with that, which is fantastic. It is good that, I'm kind of getting that under control. Went out, got some containers, some storage, organizing a bunch of gear stuff. So that is good. And we're finally getting that done, which is awesome. Now, it looks like I may have paused here for a second. If you're in the chat, by all means, throw stuff down and let me know that you are, in fact, here. And we will keep on going. So I'm not sure if this is actually stalled or not. And we're going to try and refresh the page here. And if you're chatting, hopefully it will pick up. It doesn't appear that anything is sort of not working on my end, but who knows? I mean, that's just kind of how these things go, and it wouldn't surprise me at the end of the day that there were some technical issues. So what is going on in my world? Essentially, we do have the event coming up, so if you are interested in the on the 25th, we are definitely having the hangout at the Rec Room, November 25th at noon. By all means, you can check that out. You can check out the Eventbrite. You can RSVP there and get tickets for that. I think we've got about 16 or 17 people signed up as of today, which is absolutely fantastic, and appreciate that. So I look forward to seeing all you guys there. It is working. That's good to see, Mitch. Thanks for letting me know that. Like I said, I've had nothing but sort of computer problems for the last couple days, and I'm not 100% sure that what's going on there. Cinema Time says, love the Lady Justice pop in the back. Yes, that was part of my long weekend. For those of you who know I like Metallica, I did manage to find the Lady Justice pop. Of course, if you watch stuff on the channel, you also saw that I unboxed the vinyl version of And Justice for All. Of course, I am a huge Metallica fan, and it's a lot of fun finding that, because it just kind of came out of the woodwork. What I was actually looking for were these guys. In Cinema Time, you might recognize, I don't know how much of a movie buff you are for past movies. Lots of reflections there. So one of my favorite films, definitely The Lost Boys. Managed to pick up David, who is played by Kiefer Sutherland, and managed to track those down. So I was super stoked about that. Hey, good to see a Craftsman's cosplay going well, going very, very well. So I was excited to get those over the weekend. I probably have too many pops yet again. I was sort of weaning down the collection for a little bit there. I did let a whole bunch go, but I mean, the truth of the matter is that I did very well for myself in those regards. They helped fund my camera for my film. I sold 3 the breakfast cereal guys for about $1,500, which took a big chunk out of the camera cost, which was awesome. Sad to see them go, but for that kind of money and what I needed at the time, it just made sense. And then, so I see, kind of acquiring a couple ones here and there that I wanted to replace them, by all means, but you always kind of go probably a little bit more than you want to. I mean, I picked up some other ones. One of the cosplays that Craftsmith does, Bob Ross, Deadpool, I have that as one of the pops as well. I think it's just a fantastic character. So if you guys do have any questions today is Tuesday, you can ask me anything. And I think my ask me anything button is broken, or is it not? It's not broken. So there you go. You can ask me anything. Hey, good to see you, Josh. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you guys managed to get out and vote today. So today, for those of you guys who are located in Calgary, is obviously the vote day of the plebiscite for the Olympics and the Olympic bid. Whatever you decide is best for the Calgary that you see in the future that you live in, by all means, go out and make that, vote heard. It wasn't terribly busy when I went. I was in and out of there in a couple minutes. I imagine it will pick up in the next little while. The polls will close at 8 o'clock tonight. So, by all means, the best thing to do is go and exercise your right to vote and, make your voice heard. And I guess we will see in the upcoming days what the results are and, which way the vote is going to swing, whether it's going to be a yes vote or a no vote. So it's going to be very, very interesting. I think it's going to be close. A lot of people that I've talked to said they're voting no. A lot of people I've talked to said they are voting yes. There's definitely a big yes push and there's a big no push as well. So, I mean, ultimately at the end of the day, I'm not sure which way it's going to turn out. But the important thing is that you, like I said, go out and vote and let people know, sort of what you're doing. Josh's going to head out after the live stream. That's fantastic. Like I said, I mean, at this juncture, it was pretty quick. I'm not sure, when I watched sort of the pre-polls, there was a lot of people lining up to get in and vote. They were quite busy, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen today. I'm not sure what the vote will turn out, and that'll be interesting as well because there's definitely been a lot of talk around it, and I'm curious how many people are going to go out and vote and sort of get behind what they've been saying or vote along the ways that they, been sort of talking. So that's interesting, but it is always good to go out and make sure that you get your voice heard. So if you do have any questions, by all means, throw them in the comments. I don't have a ton of stuff, going on. I do have some new stuff that I am working on. So what you can expect from me in sort of the upcoming months is, some different and interesting projects, some new stuff that I'm working on with a couple people, which should be cool. Dan says, so far the voter turnout has been more than the last municipal election. That's funny, but it's not funny in a lot of ways. I think that, the Olympics, whether you're for or against, is something that people are passionate about, and they just want to get heard. So I mean, that's really good that people are sort of going out there and making sure that they get to vote, and maybe hopefully this will translate. Maybe this is a turnaround in terms of politics and elections and everything like that, that ultimately at the end of the day, the people are getting more politically involved and people are getting out there to vote, because I mean, voter turnout is always typically pretty poor for elections, but hopefully, future going forward is, again, that people sort of get their voices heard. What movies are you looking forward to seeing coming out soon? There was kind of a horror film that I caught a glimpse of the trailer. I can't remember what it's called. That looked kind of interesting. I haven't seen a lot of trailers for stuff. I mean, other than The Grinch That Stole Christmas, that seems to be sort of everywhere. I haven't really seen a lot of trailers for what's coming out, and the name eludes me of this. It's kind of like, it looks like kind of like an apocalyptic horror kind of movie that is coming out, which would be interesting to see, kind of like a survivor horror or something along those lines. I really wish I could remember. I just kind of briefly caught a glimpse of the trailer, and I'm like, that looks interesting. But at the end of the day, like I said, I've been kind of out of the loop. I've been sort of, delving into Overlord. Yes, Overlord. There we go. Thank you. Somebody knows what I'm thinking. Thanks, Cinema Time. I appreciate that. Yeah, so Overlord. Again, just sort of caught a glimpse of it. It looked interesting to me, something that I definitely kind of like to take in. I've been just sort of bogged down. I've been, like I said, talking about this office for weeks now since I've been back. I still need to get my equipment, sort of organized from the trip. It's still kind of sitting here in bags and in a disorganized way, which I normally don't have it. I'm sort of getting to the organization where I see some space, which is always good. Space is always a premium. A lot of the shelves are empty behind me, which is good. Although I have a lot of stuff to throw back on those, so I mean it's not really like that is empty space. I have my drafting table that is covered at the moment and needs to get done, and my computer space is always just kind of a train wreck, is where it's at. But at some point, I need to get that kind of organized and move forward. And because I've been doing that, I've been spending a ton of time, sort of looking in things. I've been playing things in the background and kind of watching it that way. And I think that's kind of why I caught a glimpse. I definitely probably saw it on YouTube is where I saw the Overlord trailer. But it looked interesting because it looked something different. Mitch on Two Wheels, sweater vest or full sweater over dress shirt, collar in or out? Well, I guess this is specifically for you, because the last time I think I saw you in person, you were wearing that Argyle sweater that your wife bought for you and makes you wear all the time. So definitely the sweater, if you're gonna wear it, I wouldn't say sweater vest. I go full sweater, collar out, not in. Well, it depends. I guess it depends if it's buttoned down or not, is ultimately where it goes. Booze reviews. Saw Bohemian Rhapsody over the weekend. Pretty good. I saw it a week ago, I think it was. I saw that actually a week ago. Really well done. I went there. I saw it at Cross Iron Mills. I thought it was really, really well done. As far as the film went, there was some of it that bothered me a little bit. The kind of, disco-y kind of lettering that went on in the bit. I thought if they had kept that out, it would have made it a better, tighter film all the way around. If you've seen the film, you'll know what I'm talking about. But I mean, I think it was a really well done documentary. I mean, they did miss some major parts of Freddie Mercury's story in it. However, for film and time to be concise, I think they did a really good job. Rami Malek did a fantastic job of playing Freddie Mercury. I thought it was great. And I mean, the live performance scenes and everything that went on there was absolutely great. For those of you who are old enough to have seen Live Aid, I saw Live Aid live back in the day. So, I mean, it brought back a lot of memories, because essentially Queen went right on after U2, and I'm a huge fan of U2 as well. So, I mean, it was just kind of that 1-2 punch. My mom and my grandmother were huge Freddie Mercury fans. Both loved Queen. So, I mean, I got exposed to that music a fair bit as a young kid. So, I mean, the movie was phenomenal, and I thought it told a really good story. And, I think especially for North American audiences, because I think, Queen, as big as they are, were never as big in North America as they were in the UK. And I mean, a lot of the stuff that, Queen didn't get the airplay that it may have got in the UK, because they got tons and tons. So I think it was cool to have that story told. And it's cool that they finally got it done, because I mean, ultimately the guys in Queen were trying to get this movie made for a long time. And I think they cast it perfectly, and it's completely believable. And, if you're well acquainted with Queen and band and the band members, the actors that they chose to play them, were all spot on. So a phenomenal movie all the way across. It's definitely worth watching. The music is great. It's something that I would go see at least in, IMAX or at least AVX, where you get good audio sound. I would say that's important because it is a music movie ultimately. So the sound is going to be important, and a good fun time. The Cinema Time, A Night at the Opera is one of my favorite albums. Queen is such a unique and cool band. Absolutely. I want to check it out for sure. Trailer looked dope. It is. It's a great movie, especially if you are a Queen fan. It's really, really good. My favorite Queen album is actually A Kind of Magic, which is probably not a very well-known album, but ironically, I think I like that album because it had a lot of basically film soundtrack songs. So One Vision, which I'm trying to remember that it was a military plane thing. Lou Gossett Jr. was in it. And essentially it was Iron Eagle, I think it was. And it was a decent movie. That was the soundtrack for that. And the other songs in there were actually from the Highlander film way back when they did the first one, the original Highlander, which was kind of a low budget sci-fi kind of thing that kind of broke out. And Queen definitely, provided some great songs for that, not only the title song, but as well as, for the fight scenes and, various scenes throughout the film. So there you go. Mine is the Game album, which also a great album. Also, more towards the end, so very kind of, if you listen to the lyrics, definitely a different kind of album there. What is the best and worst? What would I name a boat if you had one? Boaty McBoatface, I think, is probably the best boat name I've ever heard. What is the best and worst purchases you've made for video production? The best purchases that I've made for video production. I mean, if obviously, cameras are key. So, I mean, for video production, I've always, kind of the best purchases I always make are cameras for that portion. If we are talking about, things other than, sort of cameras themselves. Camera's kind of the key thing. So those are always been my best purchases. And I don't think I've ever purchased a camera that I haven't liked. And I haven't purchased a camera that I still don't have. So every camera that I've pretty much ever owned, I still have. If we're talking about non-camera gear, so related gear, probably the best thing that I ever purchased was the Zoom H6, which I utilize for so many things. I utilize it for this live stream. I utilize it for the podcast. I can basically hook it up to the mics and run a boom. So, I mean, it's such a versatile piece of equipment, and audio is so important. It is, one of those things. So Zoom H6 by all means is definitely one of those key things. And I like it because it's so versatile. Versatile as a field recorder. You can utilize it just as itself. You don't even have to plug in mics. You can have up to 6 mics in it, all sorts of stuff. Now I'm starting to sound like an advertisement, but Zoom H6 is definitely the way to go. It will expand with you. It runs directly into the computer. So right now I'm just running a USB to the computer directly into OBS, and it works fantastic. Podcasts, we just run it as the field recorder. So when you see myself and Lloyd sit down at the table, we just run these two microphones in there, record to an SD card, pull that audio off, edit it after the fact. H6, it's a good thing. I want the H6. My H4n has seen better days. H4n's a great piece of kit too. I mean, they're all, the Zoom field recorders all do a great job. The nice thing about the Zoom though too is that you can just take one of the microphones, throw it on the end, and it has different attachments which come with it, which make it really kind of versatile in those regards. Boaty McBoatface sounds like a sailboat. It's a boat's a boat, man. A boat's a boat. My worst piece of equipment that I've ever bought for film. That's a good question. I'm not sure if there's anything that I've really underutilized. There are definitely things that kind of sit there more than others, but those tend to be specialty stuff. And I wouldn't say that they're were bad purchases. They're just not utilized as much. Like a slider, for example. Slider I wouldn't consider a bad purchase, but they are cumbersome. They are difficult to get around. You want to use them way too much, and it's just not practical for a run and gun kind of thing. But when you're doing set up video shoots, and you can basically cut the scenes and all that kind of stuff, they are a fantastic tool. Worst video equipment purchase. I really don't think I have anything in those regards. It's really, really tough. Lens pen. Never buy a lens pen. I will say that a lens pen is probably the worst thing. I don't like using lens pens. I don't like, brushing those things. They're not very good with the tips, the end tips where it's got the little fuzzy piece. So it tends to be a little bit abrasive. I have scratched an old camera lens with a lens pen where it basically caught some stuff, and I never used them since. I strictly go with microfiber cloths and a blower. And I will say this about blowers, that if you do buy blowers for your camera, make sure that you get not the blowers. Get the ones with the one-way valve at the back, so the air comes in and then it shoots out the one way, where it's not sucking. When you squeeze it, it's not sucking up air into the balloon and then pressing it out. Ultimately, because at the end of the day, you're going to blow stuff into your equipment. One sec, I'm going to grab. This is the best blower you can ever buy, and it's because of that valve. Most blowers don't have it. They just have the bulb, and when you squeeze, right, all the air gets drawn in here. This one's got a one-way valve, so essentially when you squeeze it, it's pulling in air here. It's not pulling air back in. And this has a filter, so no dust gets put in. So all the air gets blown in is clean. So you can see, even when I plug the end here, it still inflates. So that's the beauty of it. So if you're going to get a blower, make sure you've got that valve. And it's one thing that not a lot of people talk about. So there you go. Thanks for dropping in, Cinema Time. Thanks for coming by. Have a great day. Hey, good to see you, Samurai Fingers. Good to see you, Oren. And good to see you, Peter. Thanks for dropping in, guys. I appreciate it. Again, today's Ask Me Anything, so by all means, throw those questions into the comments. What is the dumbest way I have been injured? Lots of injuries. What's the dumbest way that I've been injured? I would say that the dumbest way that I have been injured is probably when I was young. I was basically installing a mirror with my brother, a full-size mirror. And basically the cat basically came out of the way, so I went to grab the cat to put it out of the way, put the cat out of the way, and my brother had let go to go grab the cat as well, dropping an entire mirror which smashed onto my head basically at the end of the day. So that sucked huge. Number one, I broke the mirror with my head, so I got the 7 years of bad luck. Thankfully, that's all done and over with. But at the end of the day, not the best way to get injured. Pretty stupid. Could have just, kind of held on. And I mean, I've done a bunch of stupid stuff stunt-wise. So, I mean, there's no shortage of stories, I guess, of me essentially getting or... I feel like old action cams I bought weren't actually GoPro, were a waste of money. I always wonder about that. I kind of look at, sort of action cameras now. I typically buy GoPros now. And I used to use Viosport. They sponsored both of my films. And they used to make bullet cams. And we had to carry basically a recorder that it would attach to. So it was totally usable in that sense, in the sense that it took a lot of effort to kind of get forward in that way. But a lot of those cheaper action cams, the quality is just not there. So It's very, very interesting in those. Hopefully, you guys are there because it says 0 watching, but who knows? YouTube acting up as well. Or lens adapters. They make your lens zoom more, fisheye. All these things were just a waste of money for me. Lens adapters, typically not the best thing in the world. And you know, I do have one. They are really good for what I would call fixed mount lenses. So if you do have a fixed mount lens, at the end of the day, it is a good way to adjust things. So, you know, it's a waste of money if you have a camera which has interchangeable lenses at the end of the day. So, I mean, if you do have a fixed lens, sometimes the screw in at the end can make a difference. I have one of my older cameras that I used to film with, which was a 3CCD Panasonic camcorder. It had one lens, but in order to get the wider shots, we could actually get a wide end attachment and attach it there. You know, obviously, if you can do like you can with Cinecams today, change the entire lens mount and change that. They're completely unnecessary. You're better off just buying a lens specifically for that. But you know, it's interesting. I mean, or, you know, in the case if you're shooting with your cell phone, that's when lens adapters work, kind of, but, you know, not really. But yeah, I mean, you can definitely spend, and the thing is, they're not cheap. So I would agree with you. Better off spending your money on lenses directly as well. Wow, Death by America to suck. There you go. Who's going to the Game of Thrones? Who's stoked for the Game of Thrones? So I hear that the trailer dropped today, and this, I guess, will be my confessional, is that ultimately I have never watched Game of Thrones. I have never watched a single episode. I have no idea. I've just never had the time to kind of do it. And it's kind of at that point now where it's like, people talk about it and they're like, oh, we haven't watched it, I don't want to spoil anything. I don't think you can spoil anything because I have no idea what the hell anybody is talking about. It's like, oh, so-and-so died. I'm like, I don't watch the show. Oh, I'm sorry to ruin it for you. I'm like, I don't even remember that now. They just kill so many people apparently, but you know, people are stoked to see it. I would have to binge watch. I don't know how many seasons there is even now. It would take so long ultimately for me to catch up. It's you know, it's one of those things. You know, I'm at some point I may get into it. It just I'm such a backlog of shows that I just, you know, kind of don't have the time to binge watch stuff. So, or if I do, I'm sacrificing something else. So I kind of don't want to get into it in the sense that I don't want to have to watch it, because that happens. You start watching something, you end up, you know, 20 episodes later, 30 episodes later, you know, 4 days later, you haven't showered, and at the end of the day, you know, it's all over. So unless you guys have any more questions, by all means, throw them in the chat. Again, you know, please do go out and vote. Make your voice heard if you're in the Calgary area. It only takes a few minutes, or it took me a few minutes. I imagine it'll be pretty much similar throughout sort of the city. You know, so please do that. It is getting to that time. If we don't have any more questions, I am going to throw an ad up while you guys potentially think of some questions, if an ad even comes up. So if you do see an ad, I'm going to start the ad now. Let me know that it is playing. If not, let me know it's not. Eventually, we will figure out whether or not this play ad button actually plays ads for anybody on the planet, or if it's just a sick, cruel joke for anybody that is there. Some things as well today. If you are in your creator studio and you are a YouTuber, you may see a link for a survey from YouTube asking for feedback. I also encourage people to kind of let YouTube know, you know, how you feel about their programming and, you know, all those kind of things. They are asking things, how well you feel supported, how well you feel promoted. You know, are you getting enough information from them? Do you feel like you're being kept up to date? All these kind of questions. It will definitely be in your top of your browser in your creator's dashboard if you are checking that out at any point. I saw it in the old version because I logged in here, but essentially I imagine it will also be in the YouTube Studio beta if you are strictly using that for your analytics. So that is kind of what we got going on. So again, please do remember that we do have the event coming up at the Rec Room noon on November 25th. If you haven't signed up, please do. We've got like 16 people so far, which is fantastic. It looks like it's going to be a decent sized meetup, which is kind of really cool. At the end of the day, that we have a good number of people. I've been to almost every Twitch sort of meetup that there has ever been. And they get phenomenal numbers, and I'm always kind of jealous that Twitch is super on it community wise and getting things done. And that, a big part of that is because Zawind does such an excellent job, and he is such a good guy at organizing these things. In comparison, he's got everything dialed in, and he's got a great team behind him. So I mean, I'm kind of excited that we've got like 16 people coming to this thus far. And I imagine there'll be a few more people sort of, coming and tagging on that maybe haven't RSVP'd, which will be cool. So, I mean, if we have a good, massive turnout like that, I imagine it'll be a fantastic time. So, other than that, like I said, I've got not much for you guys. I will see you again. Oh, no, I do. I do have something. Wow. I'm cutting myself off. I got distracted with the questions and didn't get to one of the things that I did want to talk about. So new project-wise, I'm still kind of actively working on the collective thing. I don't know if I'm going to put it out this week or not. One of the first events that I first kind of put together was the photo walk. Josh was there. Craftsmith Cosplay was there. We had a few new players that showed up as well. It was a brutally frigid day. I finally put together that footage, just a nice little kind of short. I'm not sure if I'm going to put that out this week or if I'm going to put it out next week, because next week I know that I have to be gone one of the days that I typically live stream. So I may put that in its place. And see how that works. But it was just kind of cool, to get that done. I left the footage because I had taken off to Singapore and all that kind of stuff. So I'm actively working on that. There is a Facebook page. Next time around, I should have a link for that and continue going. I just kind of want to build up, kind of things and events going on and community events where we can all sort of learn from each other. The fact that we have a great library now will definitely help with a lot of those things. And especially due to the fact that it's being central. I am working on a new podcast as well. We should be starting to tape that relatively quick. I'm working on that with Nick, who was in the chat earlier. So that is awesome. We're going to finally get that going. So that will be podcast number 3 for me. So of course there'll be Lloyd and JD. There'll be this podcast with Nick, and then at some point, hopefully, and who knows when it will happen. I am still looking for somebody to fill in the shoes that David had on the podcast, basically Beyond the Lens, where we talk all sorts of gear and photography stuff and all the business of photography and so on and so forth. But, that has been probably the most difficult task I think that I've had. For whatever reason. It just doesn't work. I've tried, numerous ways. I've got referrals. I went to meet with people, all sorts of stuff. And it just hasn't really worked. I mean, people are like, oh yeah, I'm so down. I'm in. And then it's like nothing. Can barely get a coffee with them to meet them for the first time for some of these people. And it just hasn't panned out. So if you know anybody that might work, let me know. I'd like to get that going. Josh still has to go to the library. I still have to go to the library as well. I have not been there. It looks fantastic. I want to get in there, take some photographs, take some film, make a vlog, take more photographs, and just spend like probably an entire day there and give it a really kind of go at the new library. But that's kind of what I have going on in those regards. Thanks again for tuning in, guys. Remember to smash that like button. Appreciate it as always. And until Thursday, I will see you guys later.